It's baked a long time, and boy, do I have a decadent dessert in store for you today. I'm making my chocolate hazelnut cheesecake. Oh, this is so decadent and feeds a crowd. I'll walk you through all the steps, starting with the crispy crust with the toasted hazelnuts. Then you'll need to know the secrets to my silky chocolate cheesecake filling that won't crack on top. We'll finish things off with a chocolate ganache, some more toasted hazelnuts, and you'll be diving in no time. Yes, it's time for my chocolate hazelnut cheesecake. When it comes to this chocolate hazelnut cheesecake, I like the hazelnut to be second to the chocolate. It's a subtle addition, but I layer it in all three components, in the crust, in the cheesecake filling, and on top of the cheesecake. So let's start with the crust. I'm using a combination of graham cracker crumbs, or you could use digestive biscuits, any crumb from a very dry, just medium sweet cookie, nothing too sweet. I am using some toasted, roughly chopped hazelnuts, so building in a little of that good hazelnut flavor. Now, if you're toasting and peeling your own hazelnuts, what you want to do is preheat your oven to 350, spread them in a single layer on your baking tray, and you don't need parchment paper, and you roast them for about 15 minutes, and you'll see the skins on the hazelnuts sort of split and break off like paper. Let them cool, then sort of tumble them, roll them around on the tray, and what I like to do is put them into a colander with big holes because the papery skins will drop down, and I give them just another little tumble around and pull them out, and you've got your peeled, toasted hazelnuts. You do want to peel your hazelnuts because if you don't, they do impart a little bitterness to your baking, and you don't want that. In addition to the graham cracker crumbs and the hazelnuts, I'm adding a touch of brown sugar, so this makes a nice crispy crust against this creamy, soft cheesecake filling. Give that a stir first to break up the brown sugar in there. And now I'll grab my melted butter and pour that right in. The method for making this cheesecake crust is traditional to, say, a New York style cheesecake. The crumb crust is ideal because it holds some of the moisture from the cream cheese filling, and if thick enough, like this one is, also stays nice and crunchy. Just want to get that crumb mixture fully coated with the butter. All right, now to put the crust in the pan. If you're new to cheesecake recipes, you need a springform pan with a latch. And when I put my springform pan together, even though you buy it with the lip up, what I like to do when I'm making cheesecakes particularly is put it into the springform ring with the lip down. That way, when it's time to extract your cheesecake and slide it off the base, it's easy to do it. I've lightly greased the pan, and this is a crumb layer that just goes on the bottom. You don't have to press it up the sides of the pan at all. It comes out easily, but you can see it's a nice thick crust, which I like because of the hazelnuts in there, the little crunch it adds. All right, this bakes for 8 minutes at 350 just to set everything. You're not looking for any change. It won't change color at all, just really to set the crust. So while the crust bakes, I'm going to start on my cheesecake filling, not with the cream cheese, but making a chocolate ganache. And this is what makes this cheesecake filling so silky and of course gives it a rich chocolate flavor. So I've already measured my chocolate out. And this is semi-sweet chocolate, so 54 to 58%, nothing too strong. Also, you don't want it to react with the cream and split or break. You want it to stay nice and smooth. While these look like chocolate chips, these aren't the chips you put in your chocolate chip cookies. This is couverture or baking chocolate. If your baking chocolate comes in a bar form, give it a good chop so that way the hot cream can get in and around those chocolate pieces to melt it easily. I've got my cream heating. I just want to make sure it hits a full simmer before I pour it over the chocolate. You have to keep an eye on your whipping cream. If you leave it unattended, ooh, that's when it can boil over, and boy, does it make a mess, says the girl with experience. Oh, I almost forgot my little bit of espresso powder. This is just 1 teaspoon of espresso powder. I'm not trying to make this a mocha cheesecake, but the coffee flavor just really bolsters the chocolate in this recipe. If you're not fond of coffee or coffee flavor at all, just leave it out. And there we go. Oh, it started boiling up. So I'll pour this right over my chocolate. And you can let it sit for a minute. Now, normally when I'm making a chocolate ganache that has more chocolate than this in relation to the cream, like a 1-to-1 chocolate ganache, I stir with a spatula. But because this is much more cream than chocolate, you can use a whisk. The hot cream melts the chocolate so quickly. But you look at it closely just to make sure. It'll look granular for about 10 or 15 seconds. Keep whisking and you'll see it smooths right out. You lose that sort of granular look. There we go. So this is still a little hot. By the time my crust comes out and cools, my ganache will have cooled too, and I can make the cheesecake filling. I've got my chocolate hazelnut spread ready to add to my filling. That's how I layer in the hazelnut flavor in the cheesecake filling, which I'm ready to prepare. I have my crust out of the oven and cooled, and as promised, no change to its appearance whatsoever, but now it's nice and crisp. So I'm ready to work on that cheesecake layer. I've got a pound of cream cheese, 500 grams, and I like to use the brick style, the firmer style. Because I'm adding so much cream to this cheesecake recipe, you do need that brick style of cream cheese. I'll soften it up first. And get ready. When it comes to making a cheesecake, have your spatula in your hand because you're going to be scraping that bowl over and over and over again. And that's how you ensure you have a nice, smooth, and even filling to your cheesecake. What I like about a cheesecake is all the work's done ahead of time. So the repeated scraping of the bowl, on and on and on, no one sees because you want to make this about a day ahead of when you plan on serving it. That's why I think cheesecake makes an ideal dessert for a crowd. Outside of its size is all the work's done ahead of time. Now I'll add my sugar in small increments and again, scrape the bowl. Scraping your bowl as you're adding your sugar is so important. Because if you get a lump that stays with you now, it'll stay with you the whole process as you keep adding the other ingredients. The sugar starts melting into the cream cheese, and that's what's smoothing it out. So I'm adding my sugar in 3 additions. You can really see how that's starting to smooth out and soften. As you're adding your sugar or other ingredients, anything before you add the eggs, you can whip your cream cheese on high speed. The minute you add your eggs, you have to slow down the mixer. One more scrape. This time, now I can add my next ingredient. I'm adding just a little bit of cornstarch. That helps create a silky texture inside your cheesecake. You can use flour, but you have a great option with this cheesecake recipe. If you use a gluten-free cookie crumb in your crust, you've got the cornstarch. This dessert is entirely gluten-free. Okay, now for the next addition, my chocolate hazelnut spread. If you have a favorite one, well, of course, grab it. I have a new cookbook coming out, and in it, I include a recipe for a homemade chocolate hazelnut spread. Now, I have my Essentials series. If you want to see my original chocolate hazelnut spread recipe, let me know, and I'll plan on recording it to share with you right here on the channel. And now that I've added that, I'll add my vanilla at the same time. And you'll see this will look like a light milk chocolate, but not really so chocolatey, because don't forget, I have the ganache here to go in. Now you can really see how important it is that you do scrape your bowl. Look at how much gets left at the sides. You really have to work that in. I'm going to add my eggs next, but I'm going to lower the speed. And you want to add your eggs one at a time. And let that first one mix in before you add the next. Your standard ratio for a cheesecake is 1 egg for every 250 grams of cream cheese. If you're creating your own cheesecake recipe, that's always a good starting point. A chocolate cheesecake is a little bit different, unlike a cream cheese cheesecake, because you've got the added chocolate, which will set up the cheesecake batter as it bakes. So I don't have to worry about adding extra egg to balance out the chocolate addition. I'm sort of giving away the way my mind works when I create recipes. It's all about how the ingredients relate to each other to achieve that end result I want, which is a silky smooth, intensely chocolate, but not over the top bitter cheesecake. That last egg just went in. Okay. The last addition, my slightly cooled chocolate ganache. It can still be a little bit warm, that's fine. What I'll do is add this on slow speed, but I'll probably finish combining it by hand. That way I know I'm not over mixing those eggs. Yes, I think this will be easier to just complete mixing by hand. Ooh, trying not to get chocolate everywhere. There we go. I'm just going to use a whisk to gently pull the batter through. If you're using electric beaters and a regular mixing bowl, you probably won't have to stop to do this step. You'll just use the slowest speed using your electric beaters. Oh, look at that gorgeous color. And I'm just checking the base of the bowl, make sure I've got everything nicely combined. I don't see a lump. There we go. Now this is ready to go into the cooled crust. So I'll bring the pan over. Actually, I'm going to get a clean spatula, just because the spatula might have batter with lumps on it. And you pour it right in. Oh, doesn't that look luscious? And this may look to you like it's going to take about 2 hours to bake, but you'll be surprised to find that it takes an hour. So I've got my oven set at 325. I turned it down slightly when I took the crust out. It will bake for half an hour at 325. Then I turn the oven off, but don't open the door. You want to keep the heat of the oven inside and you let it go for another hour. So the whole point is to heat up the whole cheesecake evenly, but then let the temperature slowly cool down. So that way the inside of the cheesecake is setting without overcooking the outside. Essentially, a cheesecake is a giant custard. So it takes that gentle, slow treatment. But an hour is all it needs. And then it takes about, a good 2 hours to cool on the counter before you put it in the fridge to chill. Oh, and here is the beauty. Just look at that. So a few tips. I get a lot of questions about how to prevent a cheesecake from cracking. So that first tip was when I said to slow down the mixer when you add the eggs. That way you're not working in excess egg volume, so it expands and then contracts when the cheesecake bakes. Your other tip is 10 to 30 minutes after your cheesecake has come out of the oven, so still hot, run a palette knife inside the pan around the cheesecake. This loosens it from the side of the pan. So as it cools and contracts, it might, if it does need to, will come away from the pan and in a little bit, preventing a crack from forming in the center. But the nature of this particular cheesecake recipe, it doesn't crack. And I love that you will find it lifts at the edge a little bit and the center of it looks jiggly when it comes out of the oven, but it does set fully. And I'm just keeping an eye on my cream because I am making a chocolate ganache to put in that little space in the center of the cheesecake. So just like the first ganache I made, I've heated cream, but this time it's half cream and half butter. That gives you a ganache that sets nicely and gives you a cleaner slice on top of a cake. And I've got my chocolate measured, the same type of chocolate. And because this is a higher ratio of chocolate, I'll use a spatula this time. And I'll just give it a second. I want the heat to do most of the work. That way I don't have to. So where my first ganache was mostly about the cream and it was very fluid, this one is mostly about the chocolate. If you happen to have hazelnut liqueur around, you could add a couple tablespoons of that to your ganache just to heighten the flavor, but it's not really necessary. Almost there. All right, so now I'm going to pour the ganache just in the center of the cool cheesecake, and it will start setting pretty quickly because of course you've given this cheesecake 6 to 8 hours to chill. It's a good make ahead. There, that's the look I'm after. Just a focus of ganache in the center. And I have some even more coarsely chopped toasted hazelnuts to sprinkle on top. And I have some chocolate on my hands. There we go. Comes with the territory. Oh, I love that look. The shiny chocolate, the toasted hazelnuts, that creamy cheesecake. I'm just gonna quickly pop this in the fridge just to set the ganache so that way I can cut a slice and show you what the inside of this cheesecake looks like. It's time to slice the cheesecake now, and a little tip to get nice clean slices, you wanna have a pitcher with hot tap water on hand. Immerse your knife in it for a few seconds just to warm up. Make sure you dry your knife off, and that just makes the slices more precise and effortless. Oh, look at that cheesecake. With that amount of cream in there, you know this cheesecake is going to be silky. And you can see how crisp and easily that crust sliced. This is absolutely heavenly. I love when you get a precise cut out of a cheesecake and that contrast between the crisp hazelnutty crust, the silky center, the ganache on top, more hazelnuts, a perfect balance of chocolate and hazelnut. If you love those little chocolate round crunchy truffle candies at holiday time, this is the cheesecake for you. I truly adore it. It's been fun sharing another bake-along recipe with you. And I'll be back with more bake-alongs, but also cook-alongs, and I'm introducing some recipes from my newest cookbook, Anna Cooks, coming your way very soon. It's time to indulge now. I hope you'll give this recipe a try, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks, everyone. Did you see the size of that bite I took? Oh my gosh, this is such a good, you have to make this. You have to make this.